Hi, my name's Glenn. I'm a stills photographer who's teaching himself video. That's what this YouTube channel's all about. I'm a stills photographer, and to me, one of the most important parts of photography is setting exposure. The amount of light that is in the image creates the image. For example, in this situation, the difference between the light and the dark is what makes this an interesting look. Not the face. This face is pretty ugly. You wouldn't want to deal with that. But more the look you get from the exposure. As a photographer, I'm used to trying to get as large or as high a shutter speed as possible. 1,000th of a second, if I want a crisp image, 1,000th of a second, 2,000th of a second, and working with the aperture to control the depth of field. That's what I'm after. For me, as a photographer, getting the aperture and allowing other things to fall where they may is important. Now, YouTube tells me that with the Osmo and other digital video cameras, I should try and set my shutter speed at double the frame rate. So if I'm doing 30 frames a second, my frame rate should be a 60th of a second. If my frame rate is 60, then my shutter speed should be 120. Now, as a photographer, I'm aghast by this because at 60th of a second, I'm going to get blur. I'm going to get motion blur. But the thinking is that that's what you want with video. That's what gets the film look, the cinematic view. Now, is that the case? I don't know. I'm exploring. That's something we'll look at probably in a later video. So a couple of days ago, I had to go into Puerto Viejo for a meeting, and then I had a few hours to kill before I was meeting somebody else. So I went to one of my favorite places, a park, and I shot some video. It was hot. The sun was bright. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was coming from one direction. It was low, but since this is Ecuador, it was intense. It was a blue sky, high UV, deep dark shadows. So I wanted to see what the exposure was going to be like, because that's a challenge. With film, it would be very difficult to shoot. With modern digital cameras, it's less so. You can pump the shadows, pull back the highlights. But I wanted to see how the Osmo did. And from initial looks, it did really well. I'm very surprised. I'm very happy. But the shutter speed that I was using, the shutter speed that the Osmo was choosing, was about 1/1000th of a second or more. Really fast shutter speeds. So it'll be interesting to look at these images and see what I think about the motion I get in it. Whether I want the motion blur or I'm missing the motion blur, what the actual look and feel of these images are, as well as how the candle deals with changing lighting conditions. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. So if you like these videos, if you found this interesting, comment. I like comments. I don't get very many yet. I like comments. Like and subscribe. You know, the same thing that every YouTuber says. It's important. It's something that we're looking for. It helps with the YouTube algorithm.